when a brand comes to me for a brand deal, they're usually not super familiar with Pinterest. So I will usually point to them and say, hey, like, have you considered also doing part of this campaign on Pinterest? And that's when I'll pull those stats. I'll pull the monthly views, I'll pull the saves, showing the awareness potential that they can have on the platform.
How to turn Pinterest into a traffic engine, how to build a community using YouTube, and how you can leverage AI to be your marketing intern. If you've ever wondered how to make art pay your bills, these are the strategies that I want you to take away. I'm so thrilled to welcome Kaya Marriott to the show. Ableheads is a podcast where we talk about creativity and business and everything in between. I've known Kaya for a couple of years now, and I met her through an Adobe Ambassador program. But ever since then, I've been really inspired by her strategies and how she blends creativity and business together. So let's talk to Kaya and learn about her growth mindset to learn how to grow on YouTube and Pinterest in 2025. Let's welcome her to the show. What started this creative journey for you, and what started creating with Kaya? What's the story?
Yeah, so not to go on like the longest origin story, but I started originally creating content as a blogger, OG days of blogging in 2016, and I started actually to document my hair journey. So I was learning how to take care of like a curly hair texture. I didn't really know what I was doing, and so I hoped that as I shared my own trial and error online, it would help somebody else out. And then because of the way the internet is, when you need a blog and you're talking about hair, you need pictures. And so I learned how to do that side of things. And then those pictures naturally go on Instagram. And as social media started to take off more, I started mostly focusing on Instagram, to be honest. Um, and also using my blog, but then using Instagram and Pinterest and these other platforms to like drive traffic to my blog versus just strictly focusing on it. And then with time, I ended up branching into different categories, attracting brand deals, learning how to approach this a bit more as a business, learning how to negotiate. And in 2021, I shared a video online that was getting just transparent about my income and how I was able to make so much. I say like I was able to um, match my day job's income, which was super, super exciting as a part-time influencer, still kind of managing both of them. And that video went viral on TikTok. And in comes the influx of all the questions. Everybody wants to know how. And I ended up creating with Kea as a YouTube channel, as its own TikTok, as its own blog to answer these questions to hopefully help fellow small creators kind of navigate this for themselves and also learn how to leverage Pinterest, how to leverage blogs, some of these more underused platforms. So that's kind of
Hmm.
how that journey started. But it was like this long roundabout way. I still do the lifestyle stuff, I still have a vlog channel, but I've really kind of fallen in love with helping other creators. So that's been my focus for I'd say last year.
I love that. Yeah, I think I have seen that video where you talk about being a full-time freelancer for 3 months and making 70K in that 6 months of doing stuff. And I think I saw it on YouTube. And it's so fascinating because I feel like running two different channels and two different streams of content, basically. It's so hard. And going in with almost a different strategy there. Well, not almost. It's definitely a different strategy because one's more personal, more focused towards your journey and how people relate to that. So, community. But the other is more still community, but also audience, where you're telling people your experience, but also answering questions. So, how does that kind of work together in?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think part of the reason I knew I had to split it. So this video, the original video I posted on TikTok years ago, actually went viral on my quote unquote lifestyle TikTok or hair beauty TikTok account. And it literally grew my account from 5,000 followers to 60,000 followers in the course of like a week, which was wild. But I was very quickly faced with a problem because this was an account originally for hair and beauty, and I had upcoming brand deals on that account. And now I had 50,000 people that literally did not care about me and my hair journey and who I was, anything like that. They just strictly wanted the how do I make money? How do I become a creator content? So that's when I knew I had to split it if I wanted to still maintain both in some way. And for me at the time, especially, most of my brand deals were on this hair beauty lifestyle page. So I couldn't just switch gears just simply because I had a bunch of followers, because as most of us know in this business, followers doesn't necessarily mean income. So I couldn't really sacrifice the main aspect of my business just to kind of do this teaching thing. Um, but yeah, I think in terms of like managing the different sides now, I am definitely like a type B, type C type of creator. I'm not a type A person. So it's very, I wish I could say, like, okay, I sit down every week and I plan out X and I plan out B for these two sides. But that's really not how I operate. I wish I was like that. I do have like a Notion board that is just a massive list of all the like content creator questions that come up, the things that I've learned, like the tech I use. And for that side, it's mostly just about carving out the time and steadily working through like all of that content. Whereas, yeah, on the lifestyle side, it's very much more like, okay, what is it that I'm currently going through? What, like, especially when I was focusing more on hair and beauty, it's like, okay, what have I tried recently? What's working? What's not working? Um, Talking a little bit about how I manage the balance between content creation and this lifestyle stuff. So yeah, it's definitely, I think, a lot more introspectively, I think, when I do the lifestyle stuff. And it's more a documenting type of approach. Whereas on the creating with Kea, the tip side, I have ideas for days. Like it's just a matter of actually being able to sit down and do it.
Yeah, yeah, no. So, why did Pinterest and YouTube become priorities for you when you were
Yeah,
promoting your blog?
absolutely. So for me, I love, so as much as I love the creative aspect of content creating, and as chaotic and type B as I am, I do still appreciate strategy. And I prefer to put energy into something that I can wrap my brain around. And I know that if I put in the effort along a specific strategy, that I will likely have success. And I find that with blogs, for example, I knew that if I wrote a search engine optimized blog post, if I did the right keyword research, that I was very likely going to have some form of success. Like I could trust that my hard work would at least land me on like the first page of Google if I did the right research. And then when I was looking how to further promote my blogs, I found out that Pinterest was another fantastic traffic driver and that it followed the same logic as keyword research for Google. Like it's just a visual search engine. So, same thing. If you're making visually appealing pins, you're putting the right keywords in, you're doing the right research, you can kind of trust that it's going to eventually show up in front of the right people and either drive on traffic or sorry, either drive on platform traffic or send them to your blog. And then YouTube, same thing. Like I find it is a bit trickier because you have to do a bit of that like thumbnail key or thumbnail title curiosity gap. Be like you have to be a little bit more clickbaity, but at the same core of it, it's still like fundamentally a search engine. And so my brain still understands how to get it in front of the people that are looking for that content.
So, what was kind of your approach or mindset when you were first starting with Pinterest? Was it just to drive traffic to the blog, or was it just to be another platform or be not just present on, let's say, Instagram? What if Instagram goes away tomorrow? I'll
Hmm.
still have Pinterest. Was that the mindset?
A mix of everything. So my approach actually when I launched my blog was to be everywhere. I
Mm.
literally I made like a Tumblr, I made a Twitter, I made like literally everything. If it existed, if there was a platform for it, I made sure I had a handle for it. And I was varyingly consistent on each of these platforms, but I knew that I knew from the beginning how important it was to just diversify yourself and have your finger on the pulse of every platform because you never really knew, even back then, you never really knew which one was going to be the one that would pay off. So that was definitely on my mind. But at the time, the effort I was putting into it was, I would say, like completely dedicated to driving traffic to my blog. It was like, okay, how can I make sure that people are going from point A to point B? But as time has gone on and as Pinterest has evolved, it has also become such a viable platform on its own. It has its own ecosystem, its own benefits. So now I still do actually use it to drive traffic to both my blogs, both my hair one and my tips one, still to this day. But now there's also so much potential on platform to make like video content that can attract brand deals or that can be used for on platform like affiliate linking to drive income that way. So it's definitely evolved since my original.
Yeah, no, I love that. The other day, I claimed my Instagram account on Pinterest, and before I did that, I had 8 monthly views, and it's been a couple of weeks now, and now it's 4K monthly views. And I feel like I did nothing. I just connected those two accounts. And if I started doing things on Pinterest, I mean, yeah, it's kind of endless. I don't even know what's gonna happen.
I think that's such a common like realization for a lot of people. It's not the first time I've heard that where somebody has said, okay, you know what? Either they've connected their Instagram or they just threw up a couple things and they came
Mm,
back to it and were like, oh, this is actually doing some work for me in the background. Like, I think one of the things with Pinterest and blogging and YouTube, but it's such a long game.
mm,
So people often they don't get that immediate dopamine hit from it. So they're not always coming back to it. I feel like it's hard for people to get super invested in it because of that. But it's always really cool to see people who have tried, left for a little bit, and then they come back and they get that little bit of a dopamine hit to be like, oh, and it was working for me this whole time when I wasn't even thinking about it.
it's like passive SEO working for you in
Totally.
the background. No, I love that. I think I'm gonna learn how to make more pins, but
Yes.
in doing that, I would want to know what's your kind of workflow to create something natively on Pinterest.
Yeah. So I have kind of like a tiered approach. So it really depends on if I'm trying to drive like on platform views and engagement or if I'm trying to drive the traffic somewhere else. So
Mm,
for my blog posts, a lot of what I will do will be it's kind of like a very old school but still classic Pinterest pin where you have like your image and then you have a big text overlay with the keywords that describe like your blog post or a solution to a problem that your audience on Pinterest probably has or somebody's searching for. So I will
mm,
do like 6 variations of like a different maybe um, image and title combination. And I actually use Tailwind, which is a Pinterest scheduling app, and I will plug it into that and it will pin. I can choose which boards I want it to go to, and you can choose, I don't know the exact number. You don't want to go crazy and spam, but
yeah.
you can, if a pin, trying to come up with an example. Say I have a pin about like this mic, and it's a review about this mic. I would have a pin that says like tiniest mic review, has a picture of it. It would say the text really bold, and then I could put that and schedule that to a board that says gear for YouTubers or best gifts for content creators or mics for video. Like it can apply to all of those different boards. So I can
Mm,
schedule that exact same pin to multiple different boards and just have that be scheduled out like months into the future for me. So that's the blog strategy.
okay.
Then for the more on platform content, they really do love video right now, as everywhere online does at this point.
Yeah.
So I find it really depends which side of the business I'm focusing on. So hair and beauty, I find it is a lot easier because it's so visual and it's again, Pinterest is a visual search engine. So I want to try to be showcasing like makeup looks. I want to show before and afters. I want to have videos that um, are showing a process. Like I could do the same, say like on video right now, do my makeup, and I can cut that up a million different ways. Like that one clip could be used for just a before and after video. It could be just the end result. It could be a how to with step by steps, or another video where I'm putting text overlay for the product names. So I personally try to milk everything as much as I can. I'm not um it's not like Instagram where say you do one video and aesthetically like okay it's done, you
Mhm.
can't like repurpose it over and over again on that platform. The beauty of Pinterest is you can take that one thing and like milk it over and over and over again, and then on another level, which maybe would be a little bit more fitting with like your style of content too, is if you do want to do something that's like talking head, again we have to remember it is a visual search engine, so sometimes just sitting and talking isn't necessarily going to uh, stop the scroll, but
Yeah.
you want to use a lot of like text overlays and B-roll to really think what is something that people visually want to see when they're coming to this platform to search for whatever it is their query is, and tailor your content to that.
We have three different workflows of how to create on Pinterest. And thinking about that, it kind of got me thinking to what I search on Pinterest. And honestly, I only search for two things on Pinterest. One of those is outfit ideas, and the second is how to create something, just like get inspiration for art. And on almost all of those, I think, are blogs, which is so fascinating because before our conversation, I didn't realize that those were blogs that I'm clicking on to get to those ideas. And I'm like, oh, interesting. These are just websites and links, but they're actually blog posts. So yeah, yeah. So how do you kind of define the ROI on your pins that you're creating? Is it kind of the click-throughs that are happening with the pins that you're creating using Tailwind, or is it the traffic or the analytics that you get monthly, or maybe sign-ups to a subscription?
Yeah, so for me, I would say for anything that I'm prioritizing, driving traffic to a blog, it's definitely those outbound clicks. That is what I'm measuring. But on in terms of the rest of the content, especially as I still am somebody who um, like leverages a lot of brand deals, I would say I'm also really looking at the monthly views, because then I can pitch a brand and say, here's the awareness side of things, as well as I like to also look at saves. So people are actively saving. So it's kind of being able to show as a use case, like, hey, this is something that people are interested in and they're likely to come back to again in the future. So yeah, I like to really use Pinterest as like when a brand comes to me for a brand deal, they're usually not super familiar with Pinterest. So I will usually point to them and say, hey, like, have you considered also doing part of this campaign on Pinterest? And that's when I'll pull those stats. I'll pull the monthly views, I'll pull the saves, and then sometimes the outbound clicks. But I find it's really showing about like the awareness potential that they can have on the platform.
So how do you kind of balance that analytic focused content, which is sort of evergreen because everyone's coming back to it, and also trend based content on Pinterest?
Well, that's such a great question. So Pinterest actually is really at the forefront of a lot of just trend research, trend information. Like that's where
Mhm.
trends are going. Like, or how do I describe it? So they have actually a couple different features. So one is the Pinterest Trends tool. So you can actually plug in a phrase into this tool or a keyword, and it will show you basically its search or its yeah search trend, basically like how popular it is, if it's spiking, if it looks like it's on the way up, if it looks like it's on the way down. So you can kind of really get your finger on the pulse and create content kind of in advance of trends. They also come out with a report every year called Pinterest Predicts, and I'm not going to quote what their accuracy rate is, but it's like ridiculously high. Like they will say for the entire year what they think the next trends are going to be, and it's it's very accurate. So in terms of creating trendy content on there, it is extremely valuable.
Mm,
But what I like to do is not, I like to create content evergreen focused first. And then if it fits into a particular trend, I will try to add those trending keywords into the description, into the title, so that it can show up when people search for those trendy things. I don't personally create content that's only focused on a trend. I
mm.
find that I'm way too like last minute for that.
Yeah.
So I find that yeah, it for me, I will do a bit of that trend research. I will look at Pinterest predicts to see what those keywords are that are trending, and then I will include it in the description of something evergreen. An example of that I used recently is I have this dress that I was wearing to a wedding on a vineyard. And a lot of the keywords were very practical. They were like wedding guest outfit, neutrals, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, I included some verbiage around like clean girl makeup because that was what my makeup looked like, or like old money aesthetic, or like
Mm,
little nods in addition to the more practical evergreen keywords. I
mm.
included some little nods to trends as well.
So it sounds like hashtags still work on Pinterest. Is that the case?
So technically, no. It's actually something that comes up often because sometimes hashtags are clickable there and sometimes they're not. But a hashtag will work. Like it will read it as though it is a keyword. So if I did like hashtag natural hair, it would just know, okay, that's natural hair content. But you're not really um like getting a leg up or anything by using a hashtag. It would make more sense to just use natural language in the description that describes your content. So it's actually more recommended to write in like a natural English cadence and just have that be a nice little paragraph versus just a string of hashtags back to back to back.
Has there been a time where you created something like 5 years ago and then you looked at it and you thought, oh, maybe I can repurpose or reuse this today with the story, which still exists, but also with the trend that comes in with that?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit tedious, so I don't do it often. But what I would normally do is not necessarily go back and like edit an old pin. If I
Mm,
have the like image file still, I will make a fresh pin using that image. So maybe I'll put different text overlay, maybe I'll crop it a little bit different, and then I will add new keywords into it to
mm.
maybe try to hit a new moment rather than actually going back and digging up an old pin and editing the information that's there.
Yeah, editing is always hard, especially with any kind of graphic and video content. Yeah, and who better to ask that? So
Yeah.
has there, I know you're talking about TikTok and blowing up on
Mhm.
TikTok. Has there been a pin for you on your Pinterest, either of your Pinterest, which has blown up, and what did you learn from that?
So there's two that come to mind. The first one that ever went viral, I don't even remember what it hit, but it made me realize like, oh, there's some serious potential in this. And it was literally just a selfie of me styling like a head wrap. And I just remember like seeing like all of these clicks going to the blog post where I originally had it, the views going up, and I was like, oh, okay, like let's put some more effort into this type of content. And because of that, I knew that people were super interested in how to tie head wraps, and there was a content gap. There just wasn't a lot on there, which is why also my like pretty lo-fi picture had done so well. So I actually ended up making like a little instructional video
Hmm.
of me tying my head wrap. And it was like four, text on screen, nice and big, four ways to tie your head wrap. I knew those were keywords that people were searching on Pinterest. And I don't even know what its final count is because it's evergreen and it's still going, but it's like hit millions of views, and to this day it's still getting reach when people are searching in that search term. So yeah, I kind of just learned the if there's a content gap, like work hard to fill it and take cues from existing content. So if you see something that is taking off, it's probably because
Hmm.
it's filling a search need. And if you have other content that is similar or that can help continue to serve those people, or if you can make more content like that, then do it because you already have that signal that it's going to perform well.
I think it's more also in line with how you can tailor that content to long form video as well, because it's not just the 1 minute video that you shared about 4 ways to tie a head wrap. You can also make it into a 15-minute YouTube long form video, which makes me curious. Have you ever done something like that?
So my like dream strategy that I do kind of hit or miss is to have like this cohesive
Mm.
multi-platform repurposed content. So it's to have a YouTube video and then have a blog version of that with the YouTube video embedded in it, and then have
Mm.
Pinterest pins driving to it, and then have like short form content on Instagram to support it. I definitely I would say like with my creating with KS side, I've actually have been doing that pretty consistently. Like pretty much every blog post I have is just a cleaned up version of a transcript from a YouTube video, and I embed it in there and then I make Pinterest pins that drive traffic to it. I think the next level of that personal strategy though is to make some of that short form content, that the video kind of how to's that will work well on both Pinterest and Instagram. I've been kind
Mm.
of trying to get back to that this past month, but yeah, that's the ultimate goal of a strategy, and I know it works. It just can be a bit tedious to actually sit down and do it.
Yeah, I think it's so hard to train your brain into doing both at the same time, because
Hmm.
it's a different strategy altogether when you're creating short form content and you have to fit all of that information in 1 minute and still make it useful, if with
Hmm.
the SEO strategy and the hook to stop the scroll.
Yeah,
But then in long form content, yes, you need the hook and why you're helping people and what's the listicle in this particular YouTube video. But then you also have to maintain that during the 10 minutes of the video.
yeah,
So it's not just, yeah, it's a whole different mindset. I was talking to Liz Mosley about it, I think yesterday. And she was like, yeah, it's just a different mindset. And I'm in the long form content. So I'm struggling with how to create the short form at
yeah.
the same time.
I relate to that so deeply. Like I basically disappeared off my pretty much everything but Pinterest
Mm.
in terms of short form for like a year. And granted, part of that was because I moved and was kind of learning to pivot and everything. But when you do get in that long form brain, and I find for myself, maybe it's not even just the long form brain, it's like that SEO strategy brain. And that is totally different. That's why I can do a blog and Pinterest and YouTube like all kind of at the same time,
Mm.
and my brain turns off for short form. And now I've been diving back into short form the past month, and I haven't posted on YouTube in a month. So it's like it's a constant balance. Yeah, so I'm
Mm.
still trying to figure it out. If you find the solution, let me know.
Yeah, I've been seeing your short form videos on Instagram a lot actually. So the algorithm is definitely working.
Oh,
I love the fact that I can never tell if they were recorded all at the same time or at different times of the day or like different times of the week.
okay,
So I'm
I love
curious, do you
that.
ever batch create the content or do you, how does it work?
I have been batch creating, but I haven't been posting them necessarily in order of the batch creatings. That's why like my hair will be completely different. Between them. But then also, I think it's a bit extra, but I do change my outfits when I batch create. Um, but lately, I've been watching like other Instagrammers, and you go to their page, and it's like four videos back to back of them in the same position and the same outfit, and they got like a million views. So I'm like, maybe it's not that deep. Maybe I'm making this harder on myself than I need to be.
Hmm. It's funny you mentioned that because I've done that as well, where I'm filming 4 videos in 1 hour or something, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should change what I'm wearing or wear something on top of it to make it look different.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like us as humans making it complicated for ourselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that might just be me because I always think that I overcomplicate and overthink my short form content a lot and then never end up creating it. I haven't showed up in like 3 weeks and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I should create something.
Yeah.
S-
It's interesting. Like I find I'm having a lot of fun with this return to short form only because I think I finally have got in the mindset where it's like, you know what, if it doesn't perform, it's just going to get buried. It's going to be okay. Whereas I feel like on
Hmm.
YouTube, I don't know, I just feel like your backlog is so visible to people. Whereas that's not the same with Instagram. And I find that that's also what I like about Pinterest, where it's like, nobody can see my views. If I post a pin that like does not hit, nobody's like the worst that happens is that nobody's going to see it. And I find that that's really freeing. So, yeah, I'm trying to lean
Hmm.
into that with the short form side of things.
Yeah, it's really comforting not having that pressure
Mm.
all the time. So have you speaking of pressure and speaking
Hmm.
of comfort, let's get out of the comfort zone and talk about paid content on
Yeah.
Pinterest. So do you
Hmm.
ever drive paid traffic to Pinterest? Well, these are two different questions. Paid
Okay, yeah, yeah.
collaborations, which are just brand partnerships. We'll
Yes.
talk about that later.
Okay.
But then I'm more interested in learning if you ever drive paid traffic to your pins, to your
Ooh,
YouTube or maybe your blog.
paid advertising is definitely not in my experience ballpark, especially kind of as like your traditional influencer. Like brands usually don't want to see you like boosting your content as a way to make it look good. Like they want you to boost it if it's theirs and they're paying for it. But in terms of like your organic stuff, um, that's just not really a thing. And so I've been experimenting with it. I'm learning a lot. Pinterest has such an amazing potential to get reach and clicks and outbound clicks through their paid tools. I can't say I can compare it a lot to like what you would be getting, the reach you would be getting on Instagram or Facebook or like all of these other ones, but I've been particularly using it as an experiment to send traffic to like a paid mini series that I'm offering and I haven't really been advertising. And
Hmm.
I will say it's been very humbling because the Pinterest side of things is working. Like it is, I have driven so much traffic to like this landing page. And then it made me realize, like, okay, it's not really converting. So this is a me problem. And so I find that, yeah, like I think there's a lot that I need to learn in terms of making courses and value adds and everything. But from experience with actually using the Pinterest paid tools, I find it's a really quick way to like actually test if your offers are sound because it's getting the views, it's getting the click through, which shows that people are actually interested in this thing.
Hmm.
And now it's just like that missing piece on the end of the sales that like I have to figure out what's going on. But I find like Pinterest, the targeting is just so incredible. And because Pinterest is a platform where people are usually already going to search something, they already have like an action they want to take,
Hmm.
they're more receptive to ads. I know if you look up online or there's like a lot of hate about ads on Pinterest, just like there's hate about ads on any platform. I get it. But overall, people are just much more receptive and open to clicking ads on Pinterest than they are on Instagram. Because you open Instagram to like doom scroll and be distracted,
Hmm.
and the ad kind of comes out of left field. Whereas on Pinterest, you're actually searching something specific out, and or you've searched something specific out in the recent past, and it's going to serve your ad to those people. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was really cool to see. I'm looking forward to just continuing to experiment with it, but it's definitely not it's a learning curve for me because it's not something I'm used to doing.
That's so interesting because I don't think I've ever seen a Pinterest ad on my Pinterest. I mean, I've
Really?
seen contextual pins that I've some for some search words that I've searched for in the past, but
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen an ad or a sponsored pin before. Not
Interesting.
that I can remember.
Yeah, I wonder if now if you go on, you'll notice though, because I find that
Mm,
the whole point, I think, and the intention behind the ads that Pinterest like allows to be run is that they do feel really native to the platform. And the
hmm.
best pins, promoted pins, are going to be ones that just feel super at home. And if they're like video, they'll be ones that are providing inspiration and visual, how to's. So they tend to feel a lot more at home. They're not as jarring. So I would love to hear like if you go back in the next few days, if you're like, oh, that was actually an ad? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's funny when you were saying promoted in my brain. I was like, maybe I've seen that keyword on the
Hmm.
pins, but my brain can't really recollect because I wasn't like optimizing to look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah, that is interesting and something to think about because I feel like with the click throughs almost, and when we were talking about not conversion after the click throughs, I was thinking more like maybe it's targeting people who aren't actually interested in buying because
Mm,
clicking and converting are two different things. And it's
yeah,
not necessarily the content that you're creating or the services that you're providing, it can also be the audience that the algorithm is pushing your content to that's not really interested in buying or maybe doesn't want to buy right now,
yeah.
and maybe it's something that they want to do in future, so it could be multiple things
It could be.
happening in that
It
scenario.
could
Yeah,
be. Yeah. I do
yeah,
think
yeah.
like I do think I have some learning lessons though on that front. Like I'm so good at promoting like other people's stuff, but my own, it's like I crumble. So I'm taking notes and we're gonna implement some changes and I'll report back.
Yeah, no, I love the mini series. I actually did see that on your website
Oh,
a few weeks ago. So yeah.
thanks.
um so what about the brand partnership side of it? Did you ever find
Mhm.
that people find you on Pinterest, other than Pinterest, of course, but other brands? Have has someone ever found your pin and be like, oh, can we hire you to promote our brand on Pinterest?
So I have found I've done quite a few Pinterest brand deals or brand deals on Pinterest, but
Hmm.
I would say all of them basically came from like outside. So they knew me from Instagram, they found me through my blog, and it was very often actually me pitching Pinterest. So I had to do a bit of that legwork, a bit of that education, like I
Hmm.
said earlier, where if they came to me saying, can you do one reel for us? How much would that cost? And I would say it would cost this much. But if you want to add a Pinterest pin and get targeted awareness, long term views, evergreen, the spiel, we could do it for a package. And it was usually through brands saying yes to that that allowed me to open the door for Pinterest partnerships.
Hmm.
And then a couple of them would come back again later and be like, oh, that really worked. We're really pleased with it. Let's do more. I find that brands right now are just still like learning about the potential of brand partnerships there. Like I have had a couple people reach out, but I found they were um, like very like green businesses, like that were promoting stuff on Pinterest themselves, trying to figure out how to navigate it. They saw my stuff and they reached out. But the type of things they were asking was kind of like, if we make this pin, can you pin it on your page? And I'm like, that's not what I do. So they
That's not
weren't
how it
really,
works.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I would say for the most part, it's still a lot of there's so much potential for it. Like
Hmm.
brands can boost your pin the same way they can on a sponsorship on Instagram. You can tag brands in your partnerships the same way you can on other platforms. It's like very intuitive to do brand deals there, but I
Hmm.
find the brands still don't know that it's it's that great.
That's so interesting. So, how do you see that kind of evolving with other platforms in the
Hmm.
market as well? Because I know so many people are now using Cosmos for inspiration, which I do as well, and other mood boarding
Hmm.
websites. Because I thought of Pinterest always as like somewhere I could mood board together in a
Yeah.
board and bring all of those ideas together. So, how do you think that would evolve with these upcoming platforms?
Cool. I think it's always going to come down to, I mean, how the platforms are evolving themselves, but also just how the audience is interacting with those
Hmm.
platforms. Like, if it's a platform that is really truly mood board focused, and that's like the type of content that it's drawing, and it's like then I find that like partnership potential could be very difficult. But I find that like with Pinterest, even though so many people think of it as this vision board or this mood board place, there's still from the beginning, even like even the cliche of like I'm gonna learn how to like get recipes on Pinterest or I'm gonna learn a DIY. Like there was always from the beginning um this tie to action, if that makes sense. So even if they're saving like wedding inspo, there's still like a an action that needs to be taken at some point down the line. And
Mm,
I feel like that's always where like brand deals are going to be able to be tied in, or like where ads are always going to see um, an opportunity because they want to be that choice when somebody makes a buying decision of some sort tied to that action. Um,
mm,
so yeah, it'll be interesting like as different platforms come in because I think it'll just always depend on what it is that people are looking or going to these platforms for. Like if it's purely for visual inspo and they're never going to have to like buy something or like do something with the inspo, then
mm.
there's kind of a limit there. And there's a limit also on how creators can monetize even outside of brand deals, right?
Yeah.
Another huge draw with Pinterest was that um, like you said, all of those links that you're clicking were going to people's blogs and still are, but there was a huge Pinterest boom when blogging was really, really, really popular because
Mm,
people would click the pins, go to the blog for the info, the recipe, the whatever, and there'd be ads there, and that was generating creators money, which I think like maybe this is a bit of an aside, but I think people really keep trying to create these new platforms or create these new spaces that say like, oh, there's no ads here, or like we're just here for the vibes, or we're here for the fun. But the longevity, maybe this is like just my personal opinion, but I don't think platforms like that are going to last because at the end of the day, being creative, posting something is an output. And yes, we like to put things out there for fun, but I think like, times are tough. Like we have people have bills to pay. So it's always going to get to a point where people are not going to want to continue to put things out there for free. And
mm,
so whether that's the platform paying them or them potentially getting clients or brand deals or monetizing in some way, like that is what keeps people putting free stuff on these platforms for just the average person to consume. So, yeah.
mm. Yeah, very interesting. So, do you ever use other apps to create pins as well on Pinterest? Like, I know we talked about Tailwind, but do you use
hmm
any other apps and also AI apps? Do you ever use
Yeah.
AI to create pins?
I don't. I think so I use Tailwind. And then I also use like Adobe Express if I'm just making like a kind of a standard pin, or if it's video focused, I'll edit it in either like InShot on my phone or
Mm,
Premiere Pro if I'm feeling really fancy with it. Um, the most AI I would say that I've used in terms of the pin generation is with Tailwind. You can use features to basically write your titles and your descriptions. Like you can list out
mm,
the keywords that you want to include, that you're trying to rank for, and then it'll like write it in a nice a nice way for you. And I find that's kind of like the most tedious part of Pinterest for me. Like I know it's so important and I love the SEO of it, but the actual practicalities of like say I made six different versions of technically the same pin and trying to find a different way to write it each time, that
yeah.
can hurt my brain. So that is something that like I'm kind of comfortable using AI for, but in terms of any of like the actual image generation, that's not anything I'm doing there. And I know that the appetite for it is not really there on Pinterest. Like people are getting quite upset with the amount of AI on Pinterest because I think
Mm,
because the platform again is so like inspiration and motivational, how to focus, like a perfect example, there's lots of like hair stuff that's AI. And the whole point is that like you're saving it because you want to be able to do it. But it's not really realistic. Like you can't achieve that because it doesn't even exist. And so people have been quite frustrated, and their Pinterest is working on AI tags for stuff, and I believe also like a filter to turn off AI visuals. I don't think they can keep up with how fast AI visuals are advancing though.
Mm.
But yeah, so for me personally, it's just something that I've stayed away from there.
I was more so leaning towards the written
Oh
text
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
I feel like I use Chat GPT all the time to at least get started with those, let's say, six ideas, but then go
Hmm.
back and change my tone of voice, because I feel like AI doesn't always does a good job, at least not right now, to really come up with the exact verbiage that I would use. So I
Hmm.
would always go back and change that with the text. So yeah, that's an excellent use of AI. I think with that said, if someone had to start from scratch with no content anywhere and had a $0 budget, what platform would you tell them to start with? And they're a creative. They're a creative. I don't know.
Okay.
Take a hypothetical situation.
Can I ask a rebuttal question, which is, what is your goal as a creator?
The goal as a creator would be to drive the traffic to the website to get actual work to be hired as a creative.
I would say it, maybe it's cheating, but I would say like a tag team of Instagram and Pinterest. Like, I feel
Mm,
like Instagram right now is undeniably like that fast awareness game. Like,
mm,
or TikTok. There's no TikTok in Hong Kong, so I have not had it for the past year, but short form in general is going to get you those eyeballs. However,
mm,
they're not always going to be the most engaged eyeballs. So that's why
mm,
I do actually think that if you're trying to like convert people into clients, Pinterest is going to be like, it's going to be fantastic to get people over to your website, as long as you're again doing like that keyword research and trying to figure out, okay, what is, the problem that I solve for people? What would they maybe be typing into Pinterest to either do themselves that I can help them with, or what are they looking for somebody to do for them? And I would create content around that. I would create like visual examples. I would create some educational content that shows that I know my stuff. Um, but I would kind of just repurpose and cross promote between Instagram and Pinterest, like use them in tandem together.
mm. That is kind of like cheating, but
Right.
that makes me think. But that kind of makes me think, how would that strategy kind of transfer over to YouTube, and how does it
Mm.
transfer over for you personally?
One platform has never been able to like serve all of my use cases. So it just, it doesn't even make sense to me to like run a business that's only on one platform. Like, I think I truly try to see like us and what we do as business owners, and you just wouldn't put all of your eggs in one basket and call it a day. So I think that's kind of where that comes from. YouTube, I feel like, is such a beautiful long game, but it's so fundamental for building community. But I think like just reflecting on my own journey with YouTube, like I have had a lot of fun with it on the creating with KS side. I have built up like quite a connected community. I feel like people again are much more engaged. People on YouTube are ready to do the work, or they're ready to like, they're invested in that niche. They're invested in that topic. They really care, right? If they're choosing to
Mm,
click on something, they're already interested. Um,
mm,
but I find YouTube is changing, and YouTube kind of themselves have said that they're changing. It's still a search engine, but it's just not as much of a search engine as it was before. And now most, like they're kind of saying like subscribers don't really matter as much anymore. Like who signed up to follow you doesn't matter as much anymore. They're starting to kind of serve content to people the same way TikTok and Instagram is, where
mm,
it's interest based. If you're interested in this thing, it's going to show it to you, and it's going to keep showing it to you. You watch one video on this topic and it's going to keep showing you stuff on that topic. And then
mm,
as a result, as a creator, you're kind of more often than not, your stuff's getting shown to people who don't know you rather than that like core community. And so yeah, I feel like if when once you get people to watch your stuff there, it's more engaged. People are more invested. It's probably more likely to convert once they're actually there. But I'm finding, at least personally now, even in the past like year and a half, it's been a lot harder to just get those views without being like particularly clickbaity. Like I
Mm,
find that it's always a lot of the big YouTubers now will say like it's concept first. Like if I don't have a concept that I know it's going to get X amount of views or be interest this amount of people, I'm not going to make the video.
mm,
And I find that like in my niche, the content creating tips, like if I want to get big views, my content probably has to be a lot around like I made this much money or here's how to do this or here's why your content strategy is failing. Like it has to
mm,
elicit like this fear, this reaction, this curiosity gap in your audience. Whereas before, I feel like some of my older stuff that is kind of performing really well would be like a very search engine optimized title where I know people are going in and they're typing this thing, they want to learn how to do something, and my video gets served up to them. So yeah, that was a very roundabout. I don't even know if that answered the question. I'm sorry, but yeah,
no,
YouTube's
I think
changing.
YouTube is changing. I think it's giving more in line with what you said. I think it's also focusing on smaller creators now. So yes, it
Mm,
doesn't matter how many subscribers you have. Um, and I face this personally. I edit someone's YouTube videos for them and also help film them sometimes. And I feel like I think they have less than 5,000 subscribers or about 5,000 now.
hmm.
And they've been making content which has gotten 16, 20K views, and some of it has got 1,000 views.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
not just about the number of followers or subscribers you have,
yeah.
it's more so the kind of content and whether or not YouTube algorithm is picking it up. And then with the engagement side of things, it's a different kind of audience as well, because one is the community that is already engaged, that you've built around, that comes back to watching your content or your story. Like, okay, I moved to Hong Kong. What's next?
Mm-hmm,
What are you
mm-hmm.
doing? Are you setting up your room or whatever,
Yes.
right? And then the second kind of audience is the audience that doesn't know you and is just interested in what popped up on their
Yeah.
screen. And
Yeah.
to try to cater to both those audiences, I feel like there is a little bit of clickbait, but also with that said, there's also the value that you're providing to them in the first few seconds. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not all clickbait.
Yeah.
It's
It's
more
yeah.
so it's more so the delivery of the content that you're saying in the first 20 seconds as opposed to what's in the 20-minute video.
Yes. Yeah. Like confirming the click. And I feel like, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like you touched on something too, though, which I do think is definitely a huge upside to this change on YouTube. Like, it can be really frustrating for the people who have grown their followers, and that follower or subscriber count was like very much their community who tuned in week after week. But yeah, like, I started a new vlog channel and it got monetized in a very short period of time. Like, the views on it like way outperform the subscriber count. And it is really cool that like you have that potential on that platform that just didn't really exist before. So it is definitely opening things up for smaller creators or newer creators. So that is really exciting. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's a new game to navigate. Like I I feel like my two channels are just completely different in approach. Like you said, like the vlog channel, people come back week over week. I haven't posted in a while, but like I can see that the returning viewers are
Mm.
dominating the views. Whereas creating with Kea, it's very transactional, it's very value driven. So it's like people come and they want that question answered, and then cool, we got it answered, we're out, and we're not going to watch the next video unless it's like super, super aligned with what you posted the week before.
Hmm. I know we touched a little bit on AI and if that helps you create pins, but I'm curious, do you ever use it almost as a marketing intern for YouTube or promoting your blog posts or even just like copy of any kind or even like keyword search or content search?
I Not really. I think the only thing um, that I've really used is I'll take the YouTube transcripts and I will actually throw them into ChatGPT and say like, can you format it as a blog post? And I'll like say with this heading and like targeting this audience and yada yada yada. And then knowing myself, I still spend like another 45 minutes basically rewriting it. But it gives me a good starting base for my blog posts. But I feel like I'm a very late adopter to AI. And I think like especially as somebody who like started with blogging first, I feel like there's probably a bit of a chip on my shoulder there where I'm like, the purity of it all, like what happened? But I do definitely like there's so much of our business that like we wear so many hats. We can't do it all. And like very often it's like why are we stressing ourselves out trying to like come up with these like very kind of like admin roles or like you said like a marketing assistant type roles by ourselves when there
Mm.
are tools to help us. So yeah, I'm open, but I've been a late adopter.
No, I strongly believe that if AI is helping you automate things that are not typically creative and are just mundane jobs that you would spend hours doing yourself, like I would waste 5 hours doing something that AI can do in 5 minutes, then I will adopt that and automate that process or task for me. Like getting emails and putting it to a service and then making a spreadsheet out of it with links that I can go back to. Why not? I'm gonna do it. And I do it.
I gotta get
And
on that level.
it's just one of those things where I feel like AI can be like I use AI in helping me write YouTube titles and thumbnails that I try to
Mm-hmm.
experiment with, which are based on my input, but then I try to change it and just to be on top of what people are looking for. And since you said you don't use AI in the research process a lot, what kind of tools do you use in the research for the content that you're creating?
So I use key search for my blog posts, and there's actually a feature in it that allows keyword research for both YouTube and Pinterest too. So that's a
Hmm.
subscription I pay for, and I can see the monthly views, and it gives me a bunch of related stuff. So I mean, honestly, all of these tools are probably using like the same core AI at the background, but I've been using key search for a really long time. And then for YouTube, I do have TubeBuddy. Um,
Hmm.
so I don't use as much of its features anymore, but I definitely was using the keyword research tool a lot. Um, I think there's like competitor analysis, I think. Um, but yeah, yeah, I would say that's kind of it.
Hmm.
They're relatively robust, so they've served me well.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So we're almost at the end here, but I would like to ask what would be your one piece of advice to your younger creative self to grow on Pinterest, YouTube, and all of the things?
Uh, if I were being, I know my younger self would not listen, but I would probably tell her to stay a little bit more focused. I am like my own personal victim of trying to do everything. Like, got a vlog channel, have a hair channel, have a content creator tips channel, and I love it. It's fun to have all these different hands in different buckets. But the reality is, it just does stunt your growth and your focus. Like we're one human. We can only do so much. If you truly want to grow, it's kind of like the advice that everyone really hates hearing about niching down. Like it might not always be the most fun, but it is the most strategic. It's how you can excel in your field. You can be known for something and you can excel. So that's what I would tell my younger self to do.
That was a really inspiring and honest conversation with Kea, and I really enjoyed her take on being fresh on Pinterest and growing a community on YouTube. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a review and subscribe to the podcast everywhere you get podcasts. Share it with a friend who you think might need it today. And if you're a brand who wants to talk and sponsor the podcast, please slide in those DMs and let's chat creativity together. Thank you so much for listening as always, and I will see you on the next episode.